Thanks for tuning in to Real STL News Spotlight, and today we have local educator, motivational speaker, and author Aza Njeri here with us. Aza, it's a pleasure. I'm just so happy that you are here, that we have been able to make this moment manifest.
Yes.
You know how significant this is, and I'm just grateful to have this moment. And I usually just like to start with talking to the interviewee and allowing that person to give us a little bit about who they are with their own words. So go ahead and just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are.
Well, first, thank you for having me. This is an honor as well. And I'm an author. I write books, hip-hop books. I'm also a hip-hop recording artist, and I'm an educator and scholar. And this is kind of like my mission on the planet. I feel confident in what I'm doing, basically spreading light and teaching people about the power of hip-hop, about music, and just knowledge itself.
Okay. And there are a few projects that you have, one that's already out, and then one that's up and coming, the up and coming memoir, One Mic. And you talk about hip hop. I've heard you say that. And in both of these projects, there's this hip hop undertone. And we know how influential music is, how universal it is, how it reaches across colors, races, creeds, age. And just tell me, this classic question that we heard a lot last month with the anniversary of hip hop, and that signature question: when did you fall in love with hip hop?
When did I fall in love with
Take
hip-hop?
us back.
Time travel. I fell in love with hip hop probably at the age of, like, I would say 9, 10. And that love story goes something like, I don't know, my grandmother seen it in us, or me and my brother, she bought us like a karaoke machine, a piano, a microphone, some blank tapes. That was like what we got for Christmas. And me and my brother went in, like, we made a studio. He was like the producer, I was like the MC, and I used to write. And when I had that experience, for me, everything that I was going through didn't exist, because it was like music, like Bob Marley said, when music hit, you feel no pain. So it was like when I was expressing myself, when I was making music, when I was writing, I was kind of like in this whole place where it was just like me and my imagination. You know what I'm saying? Like now I said imaginette. Like, so with music and with hip hop, it kind of helped me transform and transcend from my circumstances. You know, and that's when I fell in love with it, and it was fun. You know?
For sure.
You know?
And it's so powerful that, like you said, music, when it hits you, feel no pain, that there's so much healing in the lyrics and in the rhythm, in the beats, in the vibe.
Right.
And for me, I didn't grow up in a house where hip hop was pushed. I grew up around older people. I didn't have siblings, you know, older siblings. So it was a lot of Luther and Aretha and Isley Brothers and other musicians I know that you can relate to as well. And I had to ask myself the same question: when did I fall in love with hip hop? Because it's like I didn't grow up on it. And it was later in life, but I realized that it was when I began to listen to the lyrics and really began to understand and appreciate the lyrics, because the beat is innate, as you know, as having this African ancestry, the beat, the rhythm, that's
drums.
something I can automatically grasp onto. But the lyrics, to be mature enough to really understand what was being conveyed, that's when I began to really fall in love with hip hop. And that leads me to your alchemy workbook. The hip hop you saved my life. And I can say firsthand, this book is powerful. It's a workbook that helps us transcend and it helps us heal. And in regards to lyrics, tell us a bit about what mantras are and the significance of mantras.
Mantras are basically, I would say mantras in an ancestral way, they're chants, like they're powerful chants that you say over and over to kind of like to give you self-power, to help you persevere. So, you know, we're going to be all right. And they kind of Negro spirituals, you know, way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, so that's what a mantra is, and that's what monks do. That's what, you know, Buddha yogis do. They repeat these phrases and these chants over and over to help them transcend. So, you know, all I did was take the things that my elder taught me and that I in my studies, and I just put that together with hip hop. You know, nothing changes. Like nothing is new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? So it's like even though we call it hip hop, like you said, you grew up on soul, Luther, Ozzy Brothers. I grew up on all that, the Delphonics, the Dramatics, the Whispers. But hip hop is a culmination of soul, of blues, of R&B. It's our struggle, it's our pain. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And I love how you've taken all of that struggle, that pain, and those lyrics and have implemented into something that's a gift for so many people. And it's one particular mantra that really sticks out to me, and I really want you to talk just a bit more about it in this book. And it's in the first few pages, and it says, until lions write their own history, the tale of the hunter will always glorify the hunter.
yeah.
The tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
That has to be like one of my favorite African proverbs. Basically, if you don't tell your story or if you don't write your story, somebody else will do it for you, and it will be in their interest. You get what I'm saying?
Very powerful.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to control your own narrative. You know what I'm saying? Because history, narration, stories is kind of just like a compass through the world to help you self-navigate. So if somebody can tell your own story, they telling you where to go and what to do. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, you got to tell your own story, and that's why that African proverb is kind of like in all my books and texts and everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's so powerful. And I remember attending Aza's workshop, and you talked about the power of sound and the wavelengths of sound and how sound can create healing. Tell us a little bit more about that. You don't have to go into too many details, but I feel like to be able to speak and to speak life over yourself first is the first step in cultivating anything.
I think that the first thing that made me interested in sound therapy, we'll say sound therapy, is I think his name Otomo, a Japanese scholar, and he did a research on sound and plants and sound and water, and it was like these life-affirming affirmation and mantras that he said and spoke to the plants. They grew, but those negative affirmations and mantras, those plants died, and that lets you know the power of sound and vibration. We're water. We're 70% water, right? So it's like if we are taking those bad vibrations, you know, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it, and it's going to it's going to hinder us.
Right.
So I think with sound, I mean, that's how the world was formed. All the mythologies, all the stories, everything, God said the word. It all started with the word. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it lets you know how powerful sound is. You get what I'm saying? And it travels fast.
Right.
You know?
Sure. So what you're putting in your ear gate, what you're listening to every day, what you're meditating on is very powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And who you become and how you think and how you act. And in regards to your calling and who you've become and are becoming, we know that this particular workbook was a foreshadowing of your memoir, which is getting ready to be released.
Right.
Which pretty much tells your life story. Another undertone of hip-hop, of course, entitled One Mic. When did you realize your calling? When did you realize that this is what you were put on earth for?
I would say probably when I was in college, and my father, you know, was a writer, was an intellect, was a recording artist, businessman, all of this. So when he got killed, you know, my aunt, she was like, here's all his literature. I want you to finish it. I didn't know I could write, you know what I'm saying? But that's the power of just literature and your narrative. You know, it was like my father was speaking to me from the grave. So I'm reading his stories, and I'm just like, wow, I'm getting transformed. So I started finishing it. And then that's when I knew I had this gift, because once I started, I couldn't stop. So initially, I finished his book. Then I started writing plays. I started writing films. I just had to get my hands on anything. And then I started becoming a student of it. I started reading scripts, started reading plays, and great novelists. So, you know, it was kind of like when he got killed, that's when I knew I had to continue the legacy.
Right. Yeah. And you shared something with me about a situation in the book that was really inspirational to you, regarding a trip that you took with your father and how that motivated you in South Carolina?
Yeah. So my father my father loved to travel, you know what I'm saying? And he had took us to the Onutunji village. And so the Onutunji village is in South Carolina. It's the only like African village in the States, right? So that whole experience was transformational because it was like, here I'm coming, you know, before I lived with my father, I stayed in extreme poverty with my mother, you know? So I know how extreme poverty from extreme upper class is. So when I went to Onutunji village, I see people who look like me, but they treat people different. They treat each other different, and they have a native tongue, and they're just free. And so my father was a black nationalist, so he taught us all this stuff. But to actually see it with your eyes, it was kind of just like, it was beyond belief. It was, you know what I'm saying? It was beyond belief. And I say that was transformational because it was like a little girl from the north side damn near felt like she was in Africa. You know what I'm saying?
And I never even knew that existed. And you said that's something that's still ongoing today. They still live in this tribal village environment as of now.
I mean, you got bird women chest, they nursing, you got it really feel like you went to, you know, the Ivory Coast.
You know? And I only had to drive a few hundred miles. That's amazing. That's something I'll have to check out. So when it comes to the impact of hip hop, and we know it's impacted your life extremely, and you talk about, I see you online a lot, you know, promoting local things and St. Louis, you know, as a city. And how do you feel about St. Louis as a city, how we support local artists, and just the climate of our city?
I was talking to a friend, and I was telling her that since I moved back, because I just recently moved back, I can tell it's a renaissance. You know what I'm saying? And if you study any renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance, the Great Britain Renaissance, the Black Art Movement, it all started from like a war or some type of tragedy, because those people had to like channel that. So I think Ferguson, and I'm gonna make a bold statement, but this is what I believe. I think Ferguson ushered a whole new renaissance, because prior to me moving, I didn't see this much local artists supporting each other. The music scene is thriving, the fashion scene is thriving, and it's all like a hub. Like, it's a beautiful, thriving community. But prior to that, I couldn't have said it. You know, so I feel like that whole Mike Brown Ferguson thing happened, and now you see this renaissance of brilliant writers and brilliant artists and everything, and I feel like it needs to stay this way.
I agree with you totally on that. We didn't see this type of love and support, or even gifts being flourished prior to Ferguson. Do you think that that's going to continue on? You think it will be a continuous thing from here on out?
I mean, and my hopes would be that it can be continuous. Of course, the people only decide that, and the people only basically control that. But I think at the rate it's moving now, it should, you know, because it's kind of contagious. Like when I met my mentor, I was in a circle with people. When you see people on top of their game and they doing what they supposed to do on the planet, it's like, I need to be doing what I'm supposed to do on the planet. You know what I'm saying? And St. Louis, this is it, but it's a whole world out there. And everybody needs to, you know your story and know your gifts. So most definitely, I will hope it can continue.
Right. And I know you talked about, it's obvious that your love for the city has shifted and grown, because I know we discussed at one point that you felt like, you know, this was a city that could, you know, a lot of tragedy, a lot of hurt, you know, and that's something that I feel like a lot of us, it's not, a lot of us have experienced that. You know, a lot of us have those moments and those times where we feel like, you know, what are we here in the city for? A lot of us that are natives here have been disheartened by a lot of things that have gone on here since Ferguson, for sure, but even prior to that. And just tell us a bit about like what your feelings were before and then coming back and how that shifted.
So, like we were talking earlier, like I really had a strong, I won't say I hated St. Louis, but I had a strong dislike for St. Louis, simply because it's the place I had to bury my parents. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And the way they died traumatized me, you know? And then kind of just, you come into a place and you don't see any support. It's not warm. It's kind of like, you know what I'm saying, dog eat dog. Mm-hmm. Now, I say I'm born in St. Louis, but I was raised in Arkansas. You know, I was raised in the South. Yeah, so it's like, it's kind of like when you come back, you like, damn, where the love at? like
the hospitality is just not there.
Yeah, it's not there. And then, so I did have mixed feelings and mixed emotions about this city. You know what I'm saying? And then when I moved back and I actually planted my feet and my soil and my family, I started to understand that it was generational trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Like, people are really traumatized. They haven't healed, and they pass this pain to their children. And I study psychology. I got a degree in psychology, so this is like my psychology degree kicking in.
Renaissance woman.
With my love of hip-hop, but it's kind of like, okay, like, if everybody is doing something that's abnormal, then people gonna think it's normal, right? So the way we treat each other is not normal. You get what I'm saying? And that kind of like made me be like, I can talk about it, or I can help the situation. You know what I'm saying? And that made me want to teach, and that prompted me to write my story, because it's like, yo, like, I come from North St. Louis. Like, I know I've been through what you've been through, but I choose to treat people different. And I choose to just have a whole different perspective on life.
Right.
And you can too. Like, if I can make it out, you can. And I think that's why I have a love for hip-hop, and Nas is probably one of my favorite rappers, because all he talk about is ascension, elevation, transcending. Like, out of, you know, Queens. That's all Ho talk about, out of Marcy Projects. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I did it, you can do it, and these are your theme songs.
Right, right. Those are anthems to live by.
Those are your anthems.
Those are anthems to live by. Yeah. And I did the powerful word you said was generational. Oh, yeah. And people don't realize what they, a lot of times, how they think and how they operate comes from a place. And not only that, but how they're passing it down to another place. And people, when they don't realize that they're not in a position to break those curses. That's what I describe them as, those generational curses. And it's gotta start somewhere. And I appreciate you. That's a whole different topic that we can talk about for 30 minutes. But I appreciate you even bringing light to that. So speaking of light, let's take it up a little lighter. And I got a question for you about some hot topics. So,
okay. Hot topics.
As a woman in hip hop, we've seen some groundbreaking things recently with Cardi B and making it to the top of the charts and breaking Queen Lauryn Hill's record. And we have heard so many things about back and forth. A lot of people are saluting her and backing her. And there's a lot of people in the conscious community that just feel like she's really not to be supported, and her message is not one to, you know, be uplifted to the top of the charts, and she's nothing to celebrate. So I wanted to know you as a woman who appreciates all kind of music and achievement. What's your point of view?
It's Cardi.
Cardi B. Blood and shoes.
You know what? I respect anybody worth ethic. You know what I'm saying? And I respect her work ethic. And, you know, I'm not a fan. I'm nearly not a fan or a stan. But I did follow her progression to coming from the pole, you know what I'm saying, to like the poles to the top of the billboard.
Okay.
To me,
a nice play on words.
Yeah, that's a hell of accomplishment. You get what I'm saying? And I think she deserves, you got to give people when credit due. Like, she deserves her praises. She deserves credit. And she's a Latina woman who's right there. Now, the message, no, of course not. You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with the message or nothing like that, but I'm not going to give her backlash. Right. You know what I'm saying?
You got to respect the grind.
You got to respect her grind. But like I said, like I don't put her in my daily rotation.
Right.
But that song slaps.
That beat that's hard for men and women.
Yeah.
I know a lot of men can appreciate that song as well.
Yeah.
And so we talked about falling in love with hip hop. We know Nas is a part of the top 5. Obviously, the memoir is called One Mic. Come on now. So give us your other 4. We want to hear your top 5.
Top 5. Nas.
Richie Price, she about right.
No, we got Nas, Miss Lauryn Hill, Andre Benjamin, 3 Stacks.
Sure.
Jay-Z. And then I'm somewhere between Mos Def and Black Thought. Yazine Bey. People sleep on Yazine Bey. Like, Yazine Bey is nice. And recently I've been listening to Joey Badass.
Okay.
From Brooklyn. And
yeah, for sure.
Cyrock. I always put Cyrock in there because she kind of like resurrected my love. Right? She from the A. Okay. But we comrades though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So hold on, that's Nas, Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z. Who else I say? Andre 3000. Yeah. And I think it's between Mos Def and Black Thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And a lot of people say that they don't approve of Andre 3000 being the top 5 because he hasn't had a solo project. But I disagree because I feel like the bars are there. They're on most of his projects. So I feel like that ought to speak for something.
Yeah, like see the thing about me and why I love hip hop is because it's a skill set, it's a craftsmanship. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I love Nas is because Nas is a griot, and that's a hell of a skill to be a griot. And then it's an African proverb. It states like, even if we in war, the griot is the last person to die because they're the ones who pass the generational stories and lessons to the next generation. And it was all about improving the next generation. And we learn through oral, like we story tell. You get what I'm saying? So when he say the world is yours, and you telling these stories, those mantras and stories for the other generation to let them know to keep going. So that's why I appreciate his skill set. And anybody who have an extreme skill set lets you know that they're devoted to the craft.
Right.
You know, they're serious. And so it's like, Andre 3000, come on. Like, he never had a whack verse. He never had a weak verse.
I agree, 100. I've had a few debates with this, but, like, I agree 100%.
If we talking about skill, come on.
Yeah, and I recently attended a Nas and Lauryn Hill concert in Chicago. And just the way that Nas came up first and the way that he came out and just like, it was, like you said, the storytelling, the way he moved the crowd, the way he brought us in to what was being said, it was such a powerful thing. And just going back to Power, I want to know what else you have in store for the community coming up outside. I know that we have the One Mic memoir, but what else you got going? There's some projects you and I discussed, and I want you to share that with the public. Some really dope ideas.
Yeah, so we eventually gonna get these ciphers going.
Yes.
Ciphers to me are important, you know, just to help people vent, to help people channel their higher self. Because if you ever seen anybody freestyling, it's very immaculate. It's like you're watching a genius.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's kind of like jazz. Like when you see a live jazz and they're improvising, but it sounds beautiful. That's you channeling something high. So I was like, we're going to get these ciphers going. I always had a vision that I want every youth in this city to have my memoir. Kind of like how you have to read Maya Angelou and Frank, Aza Njeri, One Mic. Like,
part of the curriculum.
That needs to be part of the curriculum. Because, you know, it's like, here's the blueprint. On how you can, you know, channel your higher self and how you can ascend and how you can elevate. This is the blueprint. And then you can do it all over hip-hop. You know what I'm saying?
It's a beautiful thing. And you are in the schools. You're getting ready to get these ciphers going. You travel. So you got so many things. And we are so blessed just to have you here. I want you to leave the people with your contact information. How can we reach you? How can we find you? Let us know when the book is coming out.
Word. So another thing I failed to mention was I also do hip hop workshops. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very passionate about teaching people just the history and the power of hip hop, you know, and like I said before, well, I didn't mention this, but hip hop means intelligent movement. You know what I'm saying? It is chess.
Teach us.
Yeah. Like hip means to know, hop means to move. So it's like if you really talking about hip hop, then this is a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? You always on your game. You always learning something new, and you're applying it. You know, so that's what I'm very passionate of teaching about. And you can find me on IG, Aza Njeri, AZANJERI, Facebook. I do Hip Hop Wednesdays. The book, One Mic. I'm not gonna front. Like, I still get queasy thinking about I'm about to put my soul story in stranger hands. Like, it still makes me kind of like a little nervous, a little hesitant, because it's like after you tell everybody your soul story, nothing is sacred. You know, nothing is sacred, but I'm doing it, and it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? This is my mission, and it'll be out November 25th, Black Friday. Doing it for